1893 to 2015, the SS Dickie going through another stage of its life here today, with the stern posts and some of the components from the starboard side and port side being cut and removed for future inclusion in an interpretive design and display up in the Dickie Beach Park. Sad day in some ways, but a happy day in other ways that the Dickie will be maintained for the community to, I hope, fall in love with again as a result of the interpretive design up in the park. And down here on the beach, part of it, the lower part of the wreck, the keel, round the keel, that will stay in situ in its spiritual home. So people will have the best of both worlds of the SS Dickie after all these years. So people can reconnect or connect for the first time with the Dickie in two ways into the future. And we certainly hope that having those two options for people gives the SS Dickie the due respect that it deserves for the memories and the sentiment that it's held within the community.
She's forever tilted starboard with relentless wind and sea.
G'day, my name's Cos Coronius. I'm the archaeologist who's been contracted by council. I first became involved with the Dickie in 2008 when I was asked to do a conservation management plan of the wreck in response to ongoing concerns about its deterioration. And it was then contacted again last year after council had decided to look at removing the remains of the Dickie. To get a permit to do so, they needed a conservation management plan, a heritage impact assessment and an interpretation plan. We were contracted by council to undertake those works. The Heritage Impact Assessment was an options paper and looking at various options on how to safeguard or preserve the heritage values of the Dickie while at the same time addressing concerns over public safety due to the dwindling remains of the wreck, and looking at the various options and balance those two major concerns against value for money and costs and things like that. So we look at a whole range of options, everything from constructing a cofferdam and pumping out the water and working on it over a period of a month and then removing it in one piece, to putting bunds and making it a wet environment so we can dive in it and work on it as divers without having waves to worry about. We also looked at options of dragging it out into the sea, dragging it out along the beach and looking at the risks associated with to the heritage values of the wreck as well as the costs involved. In the end, one of the options was chosen by council, which was to remove the upper portions of the wreck. That is the exposed visible starboard stern section and the stern assembly, which is the part of the wreck that was closest to the surf zone. So that course of action was decided upon in early 2015. And as part of the preparation for these works, we undertook a test excavation in April, for the purpose of actually understanding what type of equipment would be best used to do the cutting, where to do the cuts, and just understanding the nature of the tidal flow in the area and sand cover and stuff and how to deal with that. So we did that in April, and since that time we went through and finished our documentation for approval by the state government to disturb the wreck. And also, effectively had a rehearsal on how to actually best approach to removing the upper portions without, running over time, over budget, and having to fit in within the tides and weather, etc. And that culminated in today's activities, which so far have come off really well. Worked better than we had hoped in terms of time.
1893, the last days at sea.
So what we do when pieces have been removed from the wreck is give them an individual artefact number, and then all the items get taken back to the council depot where they'll be recorded in further detail. And that reference number just gives us a way to link all our records together. At the moment there's a lot of extra sand cover on the wreck than there usually is, so this morning we did a scraping away of some of the sand towards the bow end here to enable us to do a metal detector survey in order to delineate the western boundary of the wreck. We did this because there is supposed to be some wreckage that's fallen off the wreck, and we're trying to locate that wreckage for tomorrow to try and remove it. We had one anomaly off to the side of the wreck, which we've just recorded the position of, and we'll look into that position tomorrow, and hopefully it's the piece of wreckage that we're looking for.
One of the finds today we believe is the stern post. It is positioned behind propeller and we believe they probably cut it off in 1968 when they actually took the propeller out, and they just discarded it next to the wreck. And the important part of it is the actual rudder attaches to it, so it's actually a key piece.
She'll always know how much she shines in the sand and the crashing foam. She came to rest on the beach that takes her name. From that day on, well, we all knew it will never be the same. This lady, this loved one, the vision in our memory, she is the decade. SS Dickie. Have you ever seen her resting on the shore? We've been walking around her all generations.